Hi there. Welcome to the Self-Worth Renaissance podcast. This is your host, Kirsten Van Wingerden. I'm a licensed mental health counselor in Washington State. Please note that what is about to be discussed in this episode is not a replacement for individual therapy and is a collection of musings and thoughts on mental health topics. Please seek out help if you do need help. Individual therapists are fantastic, and there's plenty to go around. Today, we will be discussing the difference between intuition and anxiety. A distorted sense of self-worth can greatly impact one's ability to make decisions based off of that quote-unquote gut feeling or intuition of what is right or wrong for them. Sometimes our anxiety might feel so loud that we feel like it has to be true, such as my anxiety that this person will betray me because this other person did is so loud that it can be hard to find clarity. Or maybe I have so much anxiety that my friend is lying to me because of what happened in the past. Or perhaps I have so much anxiety around this presentation because I believe that I'm not a good public speaker, right? Anxiety is kind of held by these untrue beliefs and values that we carry. And in my own work with clients, we can find that anxiety can kind of be like the loudest person in the room. The anxiety part is this kind of like frantic energy that feels like it has no control, and so it desperately seeks control with urgency, fear, and doubt. It can feel like a weight in the chest, shakiness, shallow breath, and a wide assortment of other frantic sensations. Not only does anxiety doubt others, but it deeply doubts the self. And that's us, right? We start doubting ourselves. It can make us second guess our choices, our requests of others, and tell us that we truly need to stay small, which is ironic because anxiety is a very big feeling. And anxiety is the direct result of low self-worth. If we feel like there is something wrong with us inherently, then our requests can never be valid. And we feel this anxiety constantly of what space can I actually take up? An example of this, of anxiety kind of like running the show in decision making, I think about a conversation that I had with a friend when discussing how they were going to handle their parents for visiting for the holidays. They really wanted their parents to come on a specific day, and their parents wanted to come much sooner than they were ready to host them. And of course, this friend loves her parents and also has limitations to their own time, right? And we all are very busy. And as we discussed her anxiety around setting a boundary with her parents, it was clear she felt fear that her needs were too much. She had this intense anxiety and fear of rejection from her parents if she held her ground. And because of this anxiety, she wavered in her response to them. She found that the choice she made out of anxiety, that was one that was not true to her or what she actually needed. If she had followed her intuition, which was able to access later, she was able to recognize that her needs were not too much, and she was actually playing out a family pattern in which she sacrificed her own needs to keep the peace, which led to her own self-abandonment. And so that's just like an example of what anxiety can look like in decision making. And it kind of can feel like after we make a decision from anxiety, it's like, oh, I just feel like crap. Like, I don't feel proud of that. I don't feel good about myself. Like, I'm actually like worsening my self-confidence, right? And so if we make a decision and we feel that way, it probably means we're not acting from self-worth. And so on the other hand, right, if we look at intuition, that's a really grounding feeling. There's clarity. There's peace. Intuition is the result of self-trust and the knowledge that you inherently have value. It doesn't rely on overthinking or logic. It's just kind of a knowing sense. It can feel like it is just right, and without knowing why. It can feel like a gentle nudge and does not usually feel urgent. Intuition is built upon your core beliefs and values, which, if you have self-worth, you know what those values are. And oftentimes, when we make decisions out of intuition, it can feel like relief. I know that within my own life, when I have known that I needed to walk away from a person or a thing that maybe harms me based on my intuition, it has felt like a weight that has been lifted off my shoulders, and I've felt instant relief. All of us have different intuitive senses naturally, and it's also a muscle that you can grow over time. So, if you're sitting here thinking and you're saying, well, I've never had intuition, it's something you can grow in. Maybe that was something that wasn't encouraged in you growing up, right? And maybe it's a new part of you that you get to access. And so when I talk about working that muscle of intuition and growing in that, we need to be willing to slow down, which in our Western culture is incredibly challenging to find time. Between work, commitments, family, and obligations, we can quickly lose touch with ourselves. Western culture values the hustle, the rise and the grind, and the work hard, play hard mentality. I myself, I'm strongly susceptible to this pull. I will naturally choose work over friends and family at times. And slowing down is a muscle that I have to constantly practice to stay grounded. I'm someone that I will hyperfixate on something and go super hard, super fast, and then crash and burn. That's not very intuitive. That's frantic, anxious energy, and we're trying to walk away from that, right? So the question is, how do we slow this down? And I have 3 points to share to encourage you towards what slowing down might look like for you. So the first point, I would really encourage you to spend some time journaling or meditating. And I'm not saying you go and you do a silent retreat for a weekend. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying 2 to 3 minutes a day. Don't start with too much. You're going to hate it. I'm just going to name that for you. And you don't want to burn yourself out. And it can honestly be really uncomfortable and a little disorienting at first to sit in that. So you might be surprised what you can experience in about 2 to 3 minutes. I sometimes encourage clients to create voice notes during their commute to work as another way to try to center into self, if sitting down and journaling is just not accessible. And I think that slowing down and tuning in can really look like different things for different people. So you really need to learn what your thing is. The second point, that seems really important is spending time outside. And I'm really serious about this. I live somewhere where being outside, it's so easy to do. I'm surrounded by beautiful trees and mountains and streams. And I understand that some people live in cities. Some people don't really have that experience. So, find a place to go take a walk, right? It doesn't have to be long. It's just something to reconnect into nature. If you can see the sky, yes, we're headed in the right direction. And, I think it's important to note, some cultures consider that nature is the connection to the divine, and in centering to nature, we center into ourselves. And this concept is there, that we have to know nature to love ourselves and vice versa. And this idea that we really need to know how to love our environment first. So that can be a really great way to start to practice intuition and that attunement. And my third point is to start a daily check-in ritual. And I want you to think about like habit stacking with this, okay? Habit stacking is where you start to add like habits on top of each other to kind of create an easier flow to the things that you really need to do. So maybe on my 10-minute walk outside, I create a voice memo processing through my day, or I listen to a meditation that grounds me back into my body. Then, when I get home, I make a note of my mood for the day. I start checking in with my emotions, my energy levels, my needs for that day. And then over time, I might start to find a rhythm and flow to my needs, right? And then before you know it, you know intuitively how to respond to those things, right? So I might notice, okay, my mood is really low, so I need to be extra gentle today. I need some tea. I need to go on a walk. I might need to call a friend, right? We just start tracking like what are the things that we need to really tune in and take care of us. And always like I just want to encourage you, like these choices are yours and all these needs are yours, right? Like you get to choose to take care of yourself. And imagine what a beautiful and fulfilling life you might lead if you choose intuition over anxiety. You know, where anxiety clutters, overwhelms, and complicates, intuition grounds and brings safety. I think as women, we often make choices from anxiety and not from intuition. We can have this scarcity mindset that causes that anxious energy to flow. It might sound like, if I don't accept this job, then will something better ever come along? If I ask for my needs from this partner, will I ever find a partner if they reject me? If I tell this friend I can't come to this event, am I a bad friend? It's like we're conditioned to believe that good things can't happen to us. But sometimes another person's reaction to us has like literally nothing to do with what we bring to the table. And I want you to remember that, because sometimes in practicing in our intuition can bring rejection, right? And so we really need to ground into our self-worth and our knowing and our sense of self to really move forward. So to end this podcast, I want you to consider a choice that is coming up in your day, your week, or your month. I want you to consider which direction you take that would bring the most calm to your inner personhood. For example, would you reaching out to that person continue an anxiety cycle? Would you turning down that job actually make you smile? Breathe into that knowing. Breathe into that being, because you are enough and you can be intuitive. So choose that. Choose that for yourself. As always, it's an honor to share space with you and what I know is likely a busy schedule. Please like this podcast and subscribe to continue to hear more content and help me continue to create content that can encourage women in this period of time. Take care out there. Stay safe.